Okay, so we have a storage silo, and we just looked it up, and we're also told in the question that it's a cylinder, so I want everyone to draw a cylinder, okay? And we're gonna label what information we are given in this question. A grain storage silo is to hold 3,500 meters cubed of grain. What does that number represent in our formula? It can hold. How much space is occupied, which is called the volume. Excellent. So we know that we're going to be using a formula for volume of a cylinder, which is pi r squared h, or what we've just been doing, pi times r times h, right? Okay, so we're actually going to just leave it like this for this question. We know the volume is 3,500 meters cubed. That's what they told us in the question. There are how many variables in this formula? There's a v, and then what else? An r. Pi is not a variable. And there's an h. So let's write the letters on the side of the page. Because what we're going to do is we're going to plug them into the equation, right? That's what you're doing. So we know the volume is 3,500. Do we know anything else any other information that was given in this question? What else do they tell us? There's a number here. What does that represent? The height. So let's put 25 for h. What don't we know in this question? We don't know the radius. So we're actually working backwards this time. Instead of just punching in numbers and calculating the volume, we actually have to go backwards, and we're going to end up dividing, yes, because we're trying to find the radius. So let's start by plugging in all the numbers. Where I have a v, I'm going to replace it with 3,500, because that's the value of v. So it helps to put all your variables on the side of the page, and then just fill them in. I'm going to replace pi with 3.14. I don't know r. That's what we're trying to find. But it's r squared. And do I know h? Yes. What is it? 25. So this is pi times r squared times h, which is 25, if you want to put them in. In this equation, we have 3.14 times r squared times 25. We can actually simplify this. We can do 3.14 times 25 first, right? You can make this smaller. On the left side, I still have my 3,500. What is 3.14 times 25? You can simplify that. What is it? So it's 78.5 times radius squared, right? When you're calculating volume of a cylinder, you're multiplying each of these together. Well, I can multiply the pi and the height together, and then whatever that is, I have to multiply it by radius squared, but I don't know radius. How can I isolate r squared? What's the opposite of multiplication? So we're going to divide this by what to cancel it out? I'm going to divide it by itself. Because if I have 78.5 in front of my r squared, if I divide it by 78.5, that reduces it to 1. Right? What's 1 times r squared? It's just the same as saying 1. Anything times 1 is just the answer, right? So if I divide it by this 78.5, it's basically reducing it to 1. It's getting rid of it, right? If I divide the right side by 78.5, what do I have to do to the left side? Divide by 78.5. Yes. So you're going to do this now on your calculator. What's 3,500 divided by 78.5? We'll round it to one decimal place. 44.6. But that is equal to r squared. How do I figure out what r is equal to? What's the opposite of squaring a number? What's the square root of r squared? Square root, yes. Right? The opposite of squaring a number is doing the square root. The square root of r squared is r. R times r is r squared, right? So what do I have to do to the left side? Same thing. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. What is the square root of 44.6? 6.67. Hold on. So let's round it to 6.7. Actually, you know what? It says, oh yeah, it does say to the nearest tenth. So the radius would be approximately nearest tenth, 6.7 meters. So if I were to label this, it would be 6.7 and 25. And you can actually go backwards and see if you were to plug these numbers into your formula, your answer should be 3,500, right?